As watch collectors, we have more weird little rules for ourselves than families playing Monopoly on the holidays. The watch I'm reviewing today is absolutely gorgeous, but it also gives me a little problem that affects a mainstay in my collection. It's one of the latest from Venezianico, and I'm going to explain why it's caused me an issue, whilst also being one of the prettiest watches I've reviewed this year. My name's Jason, I'm your watch guy today, and this is the Nereide GMT 39. Over the years, I've reviewed a good few watches from Venezianico, and as you probably know by now, I'm a bit of a fan. Believe it or not, they're not for everyone. But there's also some weird people that really don't like pizza. My favourite to date is their Arsenale, the original one, the one that I still have in my collection. And that forms part of this issue. But before we get into that, let's talk about this GMT. The thing that really drew it to me, and this is very common with Venezianico, is the way that they've used the colours. I'm a fan of a purple watch, but just the way that they utilise those certain tones really works for me. It's elegant and sophisticated over being brash and bright. They use that colour to elevate the other features that are already existing throughout this piece, and that's what I really love about their design language. For instance, the applied hour markers are already fantastic, but against that sunburst purple dial, they're just elevated. They definitely push more towards a sports aesthetic and falling slightly short of that dive aesthetic for me. That comes from the bolder nature, but still having that little level of sophistication. I also love that they've matched the GMT hands to the print at the 6 o'clock. That gives a slight subtle extra touch of colour. It just all looks so well thought out. The Nereide is arguably their most popular model. They're backbone to the collection, and they know exactly what they're doing with it. Those colours are also highlighted throughout the bezel. But before we move on, let's take a look at that lume. Once again, it's well applied. It's not nuclear, out of this world type of level, but it definitely matches up to a lot of the Swiss pieces that I've seen that aren't dive watches. It just produces that desired effect. The name Nereide GMT 39 gives away a lot about this piece and the features that make it such a win for me. The 39mm diameter is absolutely perfect for me in this everyday type of wear, and that's because it gives me enough presence on wrist whilst not being too dominating. Combining that with the 45.5mm lug to lug distance, it makes a very easy wear piece, and that's why it is such an everyday for me. It would almost go towards a gather. And when you consider the addition of this bezel, 11.9mm thick, is very reasonable, but the actual profile of the watch is aided incredibly well by the polished chamfers throughout the sides. Matching along with that horizontal brushing, it gives a more thinning effect. Throughout, I'm actually a big fan of the finishing. It's fine and it gives a fantastic illusion not only through the side profile, but thinning out the lugs and highlighting the crown guards. The polish brings your attention to those flowing curves throughout the case. The crown is screwed in as you would expect. It has a good level of grip, and I've always said this about Venezianico's crowns, they look more ornate than most. That Renaissance type of look really helps to bring in the heritage that they pride themselves on so much. And yes, as I say that Venetian look, I know that their headquarters are just outside of Venice. One of those stupid things that they're criticised for. I don't get it myself. The caseback depictions throughout these watches usually highlight what the watch is about, and this one obviously does. The depiction of the world time zones is the ideal match for what it covers, that true GMT 9075 Myota movement. It also provides that high beat sweep, and it is why this won't be as budget as many other watches on the market. The bezel has a bi-directional 24-hour click motion. It's very solid and it matches up to the function of this GMT piece. They haven't gone halfway with it, and at this price range they really couldn't have. I love the colours that they've used. As I've mentioned, it very much highlights the rest of the piece, but the effect that the BK7 crystal has throughout lighting in different areas is fantastic. It makes the purple pop, but also gives you so many other dimensions to it. The bracelet of a watch is something that I often don't pay too much attention to. As long as it's comfortable, I am happy. But I think we need to give this one a little bit more credit. It is their Sansovino bracelet. How Italian does that sound, please? Almost like a 90s Serie A striker. It is absolutely next level. From the jewelry-like links to the fantastic taper towards the clasp, it's the perfect match in my opinion. It definitely elevates the watch, and I know that it's not being made specifically for this model, but it really does help the entire vibe. It's a much more sophisticated element, and I think that's exactly what they're going for. The clasp certainly follows that aesthetic with the high polished center and the very nice brushing to the outer edges. Obviously it is also signed, double pushers and some micro adjustments. Now I've covered the watch, let me tell you why this is such an issue for me. You see, I like to keep only one watch in my collection from each brand I work with. I feel like it levels them out and it doesn't feel like I'm paying too much attention to one brand. Brings a bias to things and stuff like that. I just don't like it. That's my own personal weird little rule, and yes, I know it's weird, but it's still a rule. So the question is, how do I pick between this GMT and the Arsenale? Because I wear that Arsenale when I feel a little bit fancy, but I could see this one being a real gather piece for me. Maybe you can help me a little. Go down into the comments, tell me which one that you would select out of the two of them. I feel like I know what the answer will be and I feel like I won't like it. Now, €1,000 is not a small amount of money. I accept that and I feel like it'll be the first thing that turn people off this watch. Now, if you look at the competitors around the market, it is pretty much the right type of pricing. There are some that are higher, there are some that are slightly lower. It's just what comes with this type of specification, the design, execution, and that movement. I'll never say that it's incredibly cheap or it's budget, because it is not. It is a considered purchase. But I do believe they deliver what they should for that price. I do have some actual downsides to it though. The clasp only has 3 levels of micro adjustments, and I'd say like 5 years ago, just after I started this channel, that would be acceptable. But in more recent years, I'd say that at this type of price range, you need to have a on-the-fly adjustment or something like that, especially with a more gather style, sports style watch. I love the bracelet, but no screw links. Again, I would like to see that at this type of price point. Push pins, yes, they suffice, they do the job. I just feel more secure with those screw links. I really like the crown, the design of it, but I do also feel like there's a slightly bigger gap than I'd like between the crown guards and the crown. I don't know if that's just my eyes, but I'm sure you'd let me know. Finally, not everyone is going to be a fan of that date window. I feel like they do try to use it as more of a feature, but let's be honest, we all want it at 6 o'clock. I do think with this functionality, you want the date window, but the symmetrical look of the dial is hindered by it being at the 3 o'clock. So with all that being said, obviously it's not perfect, but I think it could be perfect for my collection. Let me know what you think.